Good afternoon, buenas tardes, bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa mujer? We're here on another Sunday, Sunday, I had to like double check. Estamos aquí otro domingo con ustedes y es nuestro placer, it's our pleasure, traer toda la información que traemos, all the information that we bring to you guys. We enjoy what we do. We enjoy the conversations that we have, the information we give you, and hopefully you implement some of the things that we talk about that you're able to, give to your life, to yourself. So esperamos que la información que damos aquí la puedan usar, aplicar para sus vidas diarias. Este mes, hoy es el primer domingo de marzo de 2025. This is the first Sunday of March of 2025, and we're starting to celebrate Women's Month, just in case you didn't know. Estamos en el mes de la mujer. Hoy es el primer domingo del mes, entonces vamos a celebrar las mujeres todo el mes. Y no solamente es el mes de las mujeres, pero también es mi cumpleaños. Entonces, como un double whammy, doble celebración. Estamos celebrando no solamente el mes de la mujer, pero también mi cumpleaños cae en marzo también. So es un mes muy divertido, excited. Entonces, we're going to go ahead and bring Nicte and Maddie on so we can kind of get started with our guest today. Hola, Nicte, Maddie, ¿cómo están?
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Qué pasa,
Hola,
mujer?
hello, buenas tardes, mujeres.
Me encanta ese collar, Maddie, no lo había visto antes.
Thank you, thank you.
Siempre nos trae sorpresas de vez en cuando, joyas que no hemos visto antes. Me encanta, eso está muy bonito. Nicte, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, thank you. I'm here.
Bien sentada en tu silla.
Sentada.
For those of you that don't know, we had a show a while ago, and I think we were talking about, hey, how are you, whatever. And Nicte couldn't find anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nicte, but she couldn't find anything that she was kind of like, we were talking about gratitude and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, so what are you thankful for, whatever. She was like, she couldn't think of anything, but she was like, my chair. So that's like an ongoing joke that we have with Nicte. So
yep.
we're glad. And, if you ever change the chair, we're going to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, no, this chair is with me forever until it breaks, and I'll find a way to
So you did your
it.
own, you covered the chair with your own.
Right? Yeah, con un zarape. I got like the zarape, and then I covered it and I sewed it, which was so hard to do.
So it looks nice in the back as well. It's not like paper clipped.
Like I can turn around and y'all can kind of see my little
no, it looks good. It looks good. I think I would have put like rubber bands or stapled it or something because I'm not crafty.
No, Viviana would have had zip ties.
All right. I'll be like, oh, I would have called my mom on it. Oh my goodness. Okay. And how about you, Maddie? With your life?
Okay. Doing okay. It's been a rough week at work. We had one of the coworkers called out sick, and she had been sick for a little bit. Well, it turns out she had pneumonia. So we're just glad she went to the doctor and, hopefully got a solution for, what she was battling. So it was a hectic week because, again, we were short-staffed, but we managed. So every time we get to Friday, I'm like, oh, we made it. One more week. So, yes.
So for me, I don't know, just it went by really quick, to be honest with you. So I can't pinpoint one particular thing. But I just came from basketball because, my kids play basketball. So we just had a basketball since Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's full of energy, I would say, especially here in the area where I'm in. There's a lot of basketball here. We have an organization called Boo Williams, and a lot of people from throughout the country come here to compete when they have certain tournaments. So I remember a couple of years ago, the town that I live in, they started to build, more hotels, a little bit more entertainment, and it was all because of the complex that was gonna be built here. It's called the Boo Williams Complex, and so there's basketball tournaments happening very often. And so today's tournament, just people were coming from everywhere: New York, Maryland, North Carolina, just from everywhere. So very, very competitive, because you get to see talent throughout the United States. So it's pretty good. My son Joel, my youngest one, he plays for one of the Boo Williams team. So it's an elite team. And we lost the last game, but we won three out of the 4 games. So unfortunately we lost, but progress, because sometimes, and I think I see life sometimes like that, where at times we something is happening and you're working for something, right? So like, had we won, we would have had a game. I always say we as if I'm playing, but we would have gone to like California had we won the last game. And then they paid for everything, I believe. So but we didn't make it to that last game, but there's still like lessons learned, and it's still a good game, because it was a very competitive game. And last time we lost by like 20 or 30 points to that same team. This time we lost by 15, but the last maybe 7 minutes, because prior to that we were pretty much around the same score. So I say that because I think life is that way sometimes. We have this end game thought of what it looks like, but then takes a turn in another direction. This particular weekend, yesterday too, I had a new project that I'm doing with the city, and I kind of do this is what's going to happen, from 9 to 12, but then we have to tweak it. And I think sometimes you have to prepare for the anxiety that might potentially come. But I think if you kind of troubleshoot it, that anxiety won't be so much. Like, we should expect that things are not going to go the way that we expect them to go sometimes. So I think that's my lesson to myself this week as I enter the new week. So that's what I think. What about, did you say something, Nicte, about your week, or solo que estabas bien con la silla?
Oh, I think, yeah, I was happily in my chair, but I love what you said, because it really resonated. And it's so interesting that you were tying lessons from basketball to life, because I literally had a conversation with my dad this past week about life, and he made a really good anécdota or comparison about how sometimes in life you feel like you're on the sidelines waiting for your moment. And he's like, and that is okay. You're going to be waiting for that moment, but you're prepared. You're learning, you're growing, you're studying. And then when it's the time when they tag you in and you are ready, you're kind of like, you come out with this all energy. So it was really cool to hear you say that, because I was like, oh my gosh, I just had a similar conversation with my dad the other day. And it's so true that I think we have these highs and lows, and we want to go, 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 go. And sometimes when we're in that moment and we're pushing, then we need that time to tag team someone else and just rest so that we can recover. And kind of like that nice learning to see it in a cycle, I think is a really beautiful thing. I think I'm just in the cycle of, I'm tired, but it's okay. I think it's that nice giving yourself that rest to kind of prepare for when you have that tag team, te toca, you got to go and echarle furia, and being thankful for the opportunities that come, and not putting so much stress on yourself or so much pressure on yourself. Because I love what you were saying, Viviana, and just kind of going through the emotions of what can happen, so that you are more prepared of whatever may be that comes. And I think that's a really great insight. So
yeah, and I think you have to tell yourself, right? Like, I'm putting this itinerary together. This is what's going to happen from 9 to 10, 10, 11. But you have to like I had to verbally say this out loud. Like, I know it's not going to happen like this, or, with my assistant, like, I wrote this up, but if we tweak it, we tweak it, So I think to actually hear it makes a difference as well. because it kind of like puts you in check of things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, and like you were saying, Nicte, just having that the growth mindset, right? Like even like for my son, like they lost, and I'm sure he wanted to win just like we wanted him to win. But you still have to process whatever just happened, and it's okay to be exploring whatever those feelings feel like of failing, right? Because it looks like a failure, but then to be able to say, okay, so let me get home, eat, take a shower, you know what I'm saying? And then you kind of go back to life, right? And then you think about those moments of, what could I have done different? Because sometimes with basketball and with life, right, we play life by ourselves, but sometimes it's better to do it with somebody else. So it's like, even with marketing, right, it's better if you and I partner up and we do a program together, because we're both promoting the program, versus if I do a program by myself. So it's the efforts of the team. And sometimes you have some of these basketball players are just hogging the ball and they never pass the ball, or they sometimes pass the ball. But when you see the dynamics, and one of the coaches was talking about that this weekend, if you just like play your role and just follow the plan, like it will work out. You don't have to be on the limelight all the time. And it's like that with business, right? Or our personal life. Like, I think there's a trend of people that are going off of social media for whatever, they're fasting from social media. And I think that's okay, because for you to be off scene, like, it's fine if that's what you're led to do, right? Like, don't just do it because that's the trend, but just kind of do it because it's in your heart to do. And whatever you decide to do when you're not on social media, that's up to you. But I think to be able to have that freedom, to be able to have the freedom to make those decisions, I think it's
I love that.
essential.
And isn't there a saying in English that it's like, build in silence, celebrate in public, or something like that, where like you don't have to tell everyone, especially because I see this so much on social media. I woke up, I opened my eyes, people tend to publicly share the best highlights of their lives, and then they don't share like the tough parts. But then there's all this beautiful building behind the scenes that you don't necessarily have to share until you feel ready. Like, hey, here's what I released, or here's what I'm doing. Like, Maddie, I'm sure when you're thinking about your poems, there's this kind of inner moment of silence that you kind of go through as you're feeling the feelings and then putting the words together. And then you're not, I've never seen you at least say, hey, I'm piecing this little thing together by bit. It's kind of like you just have your moment and then you release and unleash this beautiful poem into the world. And I feel like sometimes we need to lead lives like that to remove the pressure, or to not, ¿cómo se dice? Comparar, compare yourself to strangers' perfect pictures online, and just to, keep more of that hope and positivity towards what you're doing. And I know Tia Lili, or my aunt, your mom, said something really beautiful. Says, hay que pelear constantemente por lo que quieres. Dios sabe cuándo es el tiempo perfecto para cada cosa. Which
Oh
is
my
true.
gosh, she's a fighter.
Yeah.
She wanted to argue with somebody at the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as somebody that grew up as an athlete, I think playing a sport, an organized sport, is the best metaphor for life. I think that's why, teaching your children or having your children involved in some kind of sports, organized sports, is such a big learning curve for children, because he does teach them, not only about the game, that they love, but also about life. My children grew up playing baseball. I grew up playing volleyball, and it was the same thing. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. What do you do with that? How do you handle that? How do you move forward? And again, my kids have been playing since they were 5, and I've seen them deal with situations from, crying to, I'm going to cry, I'm going to dry my tears, and I'm going to go out there and keep playing, And again, that's the best lesson that you can teach a child without words, but that's going to resonate with them for the rest of their lives. So,
I love
yeah,
that.
it's true. It is very true because it teaches you about life, like you said. It teaches you to win, to lose, make adjustments, solutions. Like, okay, so next time, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
So all of that.
And you got to keep going. I think that's the
Mhm.
most important one, that you have to keep going no matter what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to make a comment about the comment that I made about my mother because I saw she just put please and she's like texting, typing PLS. Like she knows some acronyms that I'm like, who you been talking to that's young? But so I love the fact that my mom is a fight. I have to tell her this because if not, she's gonna call me right at 5 o'clock. But I love the fact that she's a fighter, right? Because it's persistence, right? It's persistence. But we just have to know that sometimes we don't have to fight, we could just love instead of fighting. But I'm sure I'm gonna get a phone call. But today, I hope you guys heard me, but today is the first Sunday of March and we're celebrating Women's Month. So we're celebrating all of us and all the women that are in our lives. Maddie, your daughter, your granddaughter, even your mom that's not here with us, but we still celebrate her. So the people that are here, the people that aren't here. And so today we're going to learn a little bit about Maddie. So today we're going to focus on Maddie because we want to like find out what's going on in there. Sometimes when I'm tutoring and the student doesn't get it, I'm like, is anybody in there? I grab their ear and I'm like, hey, is anybody in there? So today we're gonna dig into Maddie's ear. Mira, ¿ves? ¿Qué dijo Lili? Dijo, es disfrutar, respetar y enseñar a los niños, sí. Siempre. Porque nosotros siempre somos un modelo. They're always watching us. They might not listen to us, but they're always watching. Like this week, I told my son, like, I'm not asking you to keep your room clean and mine is a mess. So I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not doing. So I make sure I cleaned up my room first before I said that. So it's just that type of, stuff. But I love the fact that we're inquiring about Maddie today because it's the beginning of Women's Month. And I just think and I think I've said this before, but when I first heard, I didn't know Maddie, but the first time that I heard her at a poetry event, I just got like I had never experienced a bilingual poem in my presence. Not even on YouTube, like nowhere in my lifetime had I experienced a bilingual poem. And it's those things that you say, Maddie, that sometimes you're just living your life, but you're making such an impact on somebody else. And I think now that I talk about it, it was probably the beginning of me really embracing my bilingualism, my the fact that that I was able to see through my tutoring company and through that I heard you. I was like I had not felt goosebumps. Like I know we laugh about it, but I still remember that day that I just felt the goosebumps. And it's such an impact that you have, not just women, but men, just people in general. And I think you're just awesome that you have that talent. And I know, and I love the fact that you because I think out of the three of us, you have gotten the most emotional during the show. I don't think that maybe one time I shed a tear, maybe one time. So I just love that about you because I think it makes you, it's just so vulnerable, right? And so sensitive. And I just love that about you. And I know sometimes I'm hard, like in my core is hard. And I don't know, just throughout life, I've developed that, but I'm trying to be not so hard because it's not good to be so hard. So I really admire that about you, Maddie. And even today, you're like emotionally struggling to be here, but you're here, right? So it's probably that volleyball in you that you're like, I'm going to show up regardless. I lost the game, but I'm still going to show up. So I just think it's awesome that you can do that. And just the impact that women have in life. I have to admit, I have a confession. I do give my life to TikTok and social media and Instagram and Facebook. So I've seen like a lot of videos, just especially coming from men and giving a lot of respect to women and the role that we play in life in general. That the fact that we give birth to kids, and we live life, we give life, and we're like incubators, and we just kind of like take care of, right? And so I think that even through giving birth, or through sacrificing priorities, or just kind of making the household work, gives us this strength that maybe men don't have. Like, they have different strengths, but that's definitely a strong suit for us to be able to manage so much, right, that's going on at one time. And it made me think about some women, that celebrities that we know of, but I don't want to celebrate just the celebrities, because we're women, and we're to be celebrated. But it made me think about like Celia Cruz. It made me think about Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. I think we had talked about a while ago, how they did the Super Bowl halftime show, and there's a documentary about that, and I was extremely excited when I saw that show, but there was a lot of stuff going on in the back end of why did they split the time between two women? Is it because they're Latinas? Why didn't they give the show just to one of them? So I think a lot of the times when I was looking up information about today's show, is like I look up like facts about Latinas or statistics about Latinas, and it tends to be like negative things, like, oh, they're, whatever percentage less than whatever, they've had a little increase here, but like they talk about healthcare, they talk about how maybe we're underrepresented. And I think some of those things are correct. But I think sometimes, as we like to do on the show, is just highlight the good things that are happening within women. This week, I saw a video when I was giving my life to social media of this lady. I think she was like 60s maybe, and she was like, the things that I don't do anymore that I used to do. So she was like, I don't wear a thong anymore, I just wear the grandma panties. She's like, I don't wear underwire bras anymore, I just wear the ones without the wire. She just talked about makeup and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, Maddie, what are some things that you used to do that maybe you did intentional, that now you're like, bump it, I ain't doing that?
Okay, so before I give you an answer, I do have to say, before I forget, I want to congratulate my niece. Her name is Mia Suero. Her and George Mason University indoor track and field team won the A10 Division Championship indoor track and field competition that was held here in Virginia Beach yesterday. So it was a 2-day event, and George Mason University won first place. And she recently also made the all-time 10 fastest athlete in the school history. So we're just super proud for her. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. So I love her very much. Very proud, Titi. Let's see. Things that I don't, it's funny because I don't know. I try to be myself. Like, one of the things, always be myself. One of the things I would probably say that I struggle to try to keep up with is wearing my high heels. I think we've talked about this, because I wake up in the morning and I wear my high heels from the beginning of the day until the end of the day. And like, people get home and they take off their shoes. Sometimes I forget that I have my shoes on, and I be cooking and moving from one side to the kitchen to the other. I'm running around the house and I'm still wearing my heels. So I do have to say the heels have gotten smaller. So maybe they're not 5 inches anymore. But and then of course sometimes the chunkier heel, the wider. So I don't wear the thin heel as much, because those require a lot of thinking to walk in them. but yeah, I try, I try for the most part. There's little things that I used to do when I was young that I might not do as often, but I still, like, sometimes I do remember, like, one thing, like, my mom used to always joke on me, because when I was getting ready to go out, or when I was getting dressed every day, I would put on an item of clothing and dance in it. Like, I will move around and dance, and then I will put a shirt, and then I will dance in it, and I will put my bra and I will dance, like anything that I put on, and I will move and dance and kind of see how I felt in it. And she always made fun of me for that, and I still, I don't do it all the time, but I do it a lot when I'm getting ready. And I always, mom always comes to mind, because it's true, I've been doing that my whole life.
Aww.
So you must have, like, are you dedicated to a particular brand of shoe? Because I want to know what type of shoe you're wearing to be able to like last the entire day and then get home and you're still comfortable enough. Or like, are you taking like a pill or something, like a pain reducer? Like, how do you do that? El costumbre?
It was funny. One client came in, and we took care of business and whatever. And when she was leaving, I shook her hand, and she goes, "Now, I just want to know, how do you last all day with those shoes?" That's the same thing you're asking me. I think, and the answer that I gave her was, I get to sit down, because I do work at a bank, so I do walk around a lot in the bank, but I do sit down. So sometimes, it's like, oh, I'm tired. Okay, let me sit down. So I think that helps. But I don't know. I mean, yes, that too, because before I saw a shoe, and just because I like the shoe, I will get the shoe. Now it's not like that. Like, it has to be comfortable. Like, I have to, my foot, like, of course, as we get older, the shape of your foot changes, and the bunions and things like that, so sometimes it bothers you, like when he has a little seam on the side, whatever. So all those little things can bother you when you're wearing your shoes. So I am a little bit more particular when I buy shoes. I remember, like I said, growing up, I would buy $5 shoes and $10 shoes, because I just wanted new shoes and wanted, to look different or whatever. And I didn't care if it tortured my feet. I would wing it because I wanted to look good. And now it's not so much about that. So the shoe has to be comfortable. I don't splurge in shoes. Like you would never catch me paying $200 for a pair of shoes. I'm sorry, I can't do that. My mama heart does not let me do that. But I do, like, the shoes are more comfortable now, because again, I have to be able to walk in them and spend the whole day in them. So I do pay attention to the comfort of the shoe. And if it's an uncomfortable shoe, it would just be for maybe an event, if I'm going to be sitting down, if I'm going to a concert, or I'm going to watch a movie or something like that, or maybe I can take off my shoe while I'm sitting down for that type of thing. But yeah, I wouldn't put a shoe that would torture me all day to wear all day. No, I can't do that no more.
So I have noticed, like, if I'm wearing heels and then I take them off, let's say I'm sitting at my desk and I take them off and then put them back on, I think the key is to just keep them on, right?
Yes, because they don't take them off. Sometimes they don't fit the same when you try to put your foot back in. It's literally, it's kind of like when you're eating and you unbutton your pants and then you try to button them back up and then they don't fit. It's the same feeling.
Yeah, just keep it tight the whole day. Like, si te agarra así, just hold it like that the whole day. I thought about that.
Breathe slow.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Okay, so that was my Nicte. Do you have a question? Because that was my shoe question.
I'm just the visuals that y'all are giving me as you're describing all this. So thank you for sharing your tip on shoes. I stopped wearing heels a long time ago because my knees just were not handling it. So praise you, Maddie, for figuring out the hack to wear them as long. I will wear a few, but luego llego y me matan los pies. Like I'm definitely feel that tiredness. But one of the things that I love about you is that you wear your heart on your sleeves, and you are an empath. You feel people's hardships, and you are able to show up when there's a lot of stuff going on. So I love how you do that. Is there anything that you do? And I think it kind of maybe ties into your volleyball again, but like to encourage other women who are encountering hardships or, feeling the weight on their shoulders, what advice do you give them to just pick yourself up and keep going and show up and looking great like you are, still bringing the energy and the light and the smiles? I know that's not easy to do, but I think sometimes that's a gift that you are given when you can be energetic and that light. So is there anything you would suggest or any positive, encouraging advice that you would give to any woman out there that feels that they're less or that feels that darkness, to bring that vibrant light that you bring?
Well, the first thing I would say is take care of your teeth. No, I'm just kidding. I always say that because I'm like, for me, whenever I'm nervous, whenever I'm upset, like, and I don't know what to do, I always smile. So, I guess I'm going to do that until I have teeth or I find a really good, denture surgeon that can put teeth in there.
You're going to buy the teeth if you don't. If your teeth
hell
don't
yeah.
look good.
I'm going to splurge on those teeth. It's growing up, it was one of those things, like I've always, like you said, I've always been like this. Like when I think I feel things too much. And like I always cry. I'm just a huge crybaby. Whenever I'm frustrated, I cry. When I'm angry, I cry. When I'm sad, I cry. When I'm happy, I cry. So, it's like it's just something that happens. It's how I don't know if it's my coping mechanism, but it's just like a part of who I am. And I know growing up it was frustrating because I just felt like such a crybaby, and I felt like that was such a terrible thing. But again, as you get older and you mature, you learn to accept yourself, the way that you are, or the things about yourself that you cannot change. And that was something that I always fought. And it's just so crazy that we're having all these conversations, because yesterday I had a writing session with my team and we were talking about that, and they were like, no, like nobody can, when you're delivering a sad poem, it's not about crying during the poem, because you can have fake tears and it might not have the same effect that when you're delivering the poem and it's genuinely coming out of you, and then the tears are coming out of you. It's a different feeling, to cry on cue than to cry and not expect it and still be able to push through your poem, and that happens to me a lot because of the way that I write, because everything that I write is so personal, is so heartfelt. So I guess to answer your question, Nicte, it's like accepting who you are, not being apologetic for who you are. This is how I'm feeling. And if I want to cry, I'm going to cry. I have learned to cry and dry my tears and just keep going. Sometimes, you can either, like they say so many times, it's not what you do when you fall down, but how you get up and keep going. And I've learned that too much. And sometimes we feel we go through things and it's like, it's the end of the world. Like, this is my rock bottom. And then you're like, you know what? I can get up from this one. And it has happened so many times that, it's like, that's it. This is it. This is the worst that could ever happen to me. And then you just keep going. I remember I always used to say, like, I don't know how I'm going to go on living without my mother. That was like the one thing that I've always told myself. It's like, how am I going to find like the strength to keep going? And I'm here. So, it's like, it's you just go through life and you realize that, you're still here and you have one more day, and maybe you cannot change what happened, but you can change, you can make a difference in what's coming. You can change the outcome. If you're feeling like this, you can either stay like this, or you just, can find something else or another reason to smile again, So I guess I've learned that with age, with maturity, and you just kind of learn to move forward.
I love that. That was so beautiful, Maddie, and thank you for sharing that. I think so much of your words really resonated in the sense of loving and accepting yourself. I don't think we do that enough. And especially as women, we put so much pressure, and pressure that sometimes people don't tell us. It's us putting that pressure on ourselves, and learning to, think about, like, would you tell your friend to do that? No, then why are you doing it for yourself? And just honoring that. And I think what is so beautiful too about, you kind of answered one of the other questions that I had, when you are writing such heartfelt poems, because there's been times when you just feel the poem, we feel the poem, and we can see the emotion coming from you, and you were still able to read and say your entire poem, even though you have tears in la cara, in your face, and your voice, like, I don't know how you do it, but your voice doesn't shake. You're still there, but you're still feeling it, and it's so powerful. And I just love that you can ride the emotion and embrace that and still shine, because I know when I've gotten emotional things, I'm like, and you feel like the bola here, and you just forget how to talk, and you get caught on the emotions, and you just ride the emotion, which I think is so beautiful to be able to do. And that shows the level of strength that you have in showing who you are, but also honoring that and not hiding. And I think sometimes maybe that feeling that most people feel of that lockup is like, oh, I'm showing myself, I'm showing that vulnerability that people think of when it's crying. So I just love that you're able to, again, I see it like visually, like riding the emotions, like Maddie surfing the waves of emotion, and she's still saying her, she could be going through this huge wave of like everything going, behind her, but she's still there saying her poem as she's riding the wave. And I think it's such a beautiful way to approach life. And I hope that whoever is listening gets some really great inspiration from that. And the younger that you're able to embrace this, I think the stronger you'll be as you age, like fine wine, and as you get older. So thank you, Maddie.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love it. So, Maddie, I'm going to say a list of names, and then I want you to just tell me what you feel after you hear all these names. Sonia Sotomayor, Jennifer Lopez, Eva Longoria, Selena, Salma Hayek, Celia Cruz, Gloria Estefan, Sofia Vergara, Shakira, and I think you like this poet, Elizabeth Acevedo, Nicte Cuevas, Maddie Garcia, and Viviana Andrade. Tell me, what do you feel?
Oh my God, that's so many. I'm like thinking of words, and then you kept saying another name, and then another name, and then and I'm like, wait, I'm still stuck on the first word. Ooh, fight, pride, beauty, representation, how can I put it? What else? Health, perseverance, mothering, colors, drive, determination. What else? Ooh, music, culture, sabor, azúcar. What else? Example. I said pride already. I don't know. I need a dictionary now so I can find more words. Can I Google synonyms?
No Google.
That was an awesome list. It's so funny that you gave me, that list, because is it 3 years already? I think I'm going on 3 years. I can't even remember anymore. But 3 years ago, I released my book, A Vision of She. And when I did my book release event, I wanted to have women that were inspiring to me. And, half of the women that you mentioned on that list, so I did a bouquet of flowers on each table, and then I put a picture of a woman that was meaningful to me. And half of the people that you mentioned on the list, I had on the tables. and it was not only Hispanic women. I remember I had Michelle Obama on one picture. I had Malala also on another table. So I mean, there were, you know, just a bunch and range of ages and different women that were just inspiring, because that's, you know, when I wrote my book, that's kind of what I was thinking about, you know, women being inspired. So but yeah, that was an amazing list.
So tell us, what is it about Elizabeth Acevedo that you like? Acevedo.
Acevedo. It's just, you know, it's like, I think, you know, it's just when you look at an artist, and I think that's what being a creative does, when you see yourself reflected in somebody else. You know, I hear her speak. Like, I look at her. I don't know if you've seen pictures of her, but Liz is, it's my complexion, maybe a little bit darker. She has the curly hair. She rocks her curly hair, and then you know, she's an amazing orator. That's how you say it? Like, she expressed herself very, very well. She's she has a master's in creative writing, so she's an educator. She's been a spoken word artist since she was in high school, so so she's comfortable on a stage and speaking in public and whatever. So it's just her whole story, you know. It's like when I read about the life of Julia Alvarez, who is also a Dominican writer, and she received a Medal of Honor from President Obama for her work in literature. And she, like, when I read her story, you know, it's like you see yourself represented in those stories, not only physically, but also in, like, their history. You know where they come from. You know, when you hear, just like you said, when you hear me saying a poem and you identify, you're like, man, I feel that, you know. And when you see these people on TV, or you listen to their work, or you read about their lives, and you're like, that is me. You know, when I hear Liz's poems, it's like, I should have written that, because I went through that first, because I'm older than her, you know. So I'm like, I went through that first. I should have written that. But she is saying it, you know, exactly the way I'm feeling it. So I just think she's just an amazing artist. And I've seen her grow, you know, like when I found her, you know, she was still single. Now she's married. She has a child. She's going through the whole motherhood thing. She transitioned from being a performing artist, to now being a writer, a full-time writer, and she's writing novels. So she's experimenting with this other side of the arts, and it's beautiful. I admire her. I have, you know, I met her. I spoke to her. So in my mind, we're best friends, you know, even though she has probably no clue who I am, but I just love her.
I love it. Another question I had, and then you can go, Nicte. When you were writing a book, what's the name of your book?
A Vision of She.
A Vision of She. When you were writing A Vision of She, did you ever experience something that was unique to writing the book, right? Like, sometimes, you know, sometimes we talk and we might be talking to someone, but at the same time we start to, like, internalize, like, oh, I'm telling her this, but it reminds me of this or that. I don't want to say it's an aha moment, but just a moment of maybe clarity. Maybe it was a challenge, but then you were like, oh my God, like, this is the name of the book, or, you know what I'm saying? Or I definitely got to put this poem in here. Like, did you ever experience that as you were?
Of course, of course. I think my book wrote itself. You know, it's like I remember the first time, well, not the first time, but one of the first poems that I wrote, you know, so, okay, let me backtrack. So, A Vision of She, if you look at the book, it's a picture of my daughter in the front, and I'm kind of like in the background. But when you look in the mirror, she can only see herself, you know? So it's kind of like I'm there, but I'm not. And I remember sitting down one day, and she was like literally sitting on the couch looking out the window. And I took a picture of her, and she didn't notice that I took a picture of her. And it was just that moment looking at her. And I think she must have been like 13 or 14. And just thinking, like all these, like having all these feelings, like my little girl is not a little girl anymore. She's going through that transition. I hope, again, me remembering how I felt at that age, and then wishing, like hoping or wishing that I could tell myself all the things that I want to tell her, if that will make a difference, or thinking how much of a difference that will make. So it was just like, I remember I was just looking at her, and I literally sat there, and that same day I wrote that poem, and the poem went in the book, and then that started a bunch of she poems. And then if you go through the book, the section that I wrote just for my daughter, all the poems just talk to she, she this and she that, and she was my inspiration. So like I knew when I was thinking about the project or putting a project together, I knew that was the first one that I wanted to put together, because I knew I had the material for that, because it had just been writing itself, and not only that, like I wanted to make sure that if something happened to me tomorrow, because again, we know that we only need to be alive in order to die. So if something happened to me tomorrow and anything was going to be left behind aside from my children, I wanted that to be there. My friend George, who we've had in the show before, he always says, you when you publish a book, or when you become a published author, you live forever. So I wanted to make sure that feeling will live forever.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's an awesome perspective. And I love George. I actually, when he came on the show, I don't know if you guys remember, because it's been a minute, but when he came on the show, he read one of his poems from his book. And the poem was about a puzzle. And I was like, oh my God, that's for me. So I had the poem.
Oh, shoot. Oh, are you back? I think you're back.
You froze.
Sorry. I don't know if I was breaking up. But I had the poem blown up, and am I back?
You're back. Okay. You're back.
Did you hear what I said or no?
That you blew up the poem.
Yes, I blew up the poem and I framed it, and it's in my office. Like I see it every day. That was such an incredible moment for me.
I don't know if he knows that, so I'm going to share that with him.
Well, he knows that I blew it up because he autographed it for me.
Oh,
yeah. So I blew it up, and I blew up 2 of them so I could have a backup just in case. But I framed it, and it's in my office. So he knows I blew it up because he autographed it for me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. We wanted to say hello to Mildred Rodriguez y también a Enrique. Enrique, I think you were thinking about us every day, because this morning I was like, I need to hit up Enrique, because last time Enrique was on the show, Maddie and I were not on the show. It was just Nicte and Enrique. So I feel extra disconnected from him because I haven't seen him. I see him on LinkedIn all the time, but I haven't experienced, his presence in a while. So we're going to bring him on soon as well. I'm serious. I was going to text him this morning. So, Mark said, oh, he knows now. I guess he's talking about George, the whole world knows. That's right. I don't know if you guys know, but Que Pasa Mujer, we're watched on our channel is called Pot TV, and our show is seen through Roku, and Roku is also seen internationally. So even though you see us on Sundays at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, throughout the week, our show is seen in other platforms as well. And we're seen in other countries as well. So we're famous. And in addition to that, Latinos contribute $3.4 trillion to the economy.
Didn't it go up to 5?
Nicte? Is it
Sorry, I have my
3.5?
little 3.5
Hi,
trillion here.
3.5.
She has to
Hola.
point. She has to point with her.
Yeah, papi say 3.5 trillion.
3.5 trillion.
Yes.
Well, my hands were too slippery on this snack.
Okay,
Oh, I love it. I love fruit snacks.
sorry.
Did the number go up, Nicte?
I think it's at 3.5 now.
3.5? Okay.
From like the latest stats, but I am assuming it might be going up
Okay.
sooner.
3.3, 3.4, 3.5, you know.
We're in the trillions.
Yeah, wait until we do our taxes, you know? And
We
that
will
number
know.
is gonna go up even more because we're making that money and spending it, baby. Crazy.
Oh my goodness. So I had one question. I mean, this has been all great. There is something that I've always heard when it comes like to like creativity, and I wonder if this happens to you, Maddie. And as you were talking about earlier, how sometimes you feel seen when someone else wrote something that I was like, oh, I should have written it. Do you ever get this feeling that, because I think you've said sometimes in another show or past shows where you'll get ideas randomly or you kind of write them down. Do you sometimes feel this urge of, I really have to write about this topic? And I know they're related to you, but do you feel sometimes like there's something in me that tells me I have to write this poem or I have to, and then you meet someone in the crowd that says, you have no idea how much this impacted me because you've shared those stories. So I'm really curious if that is something that you've experienced, because I've heard sometimes, like I've even, felt that where I have an idea and I don't pursue it. And I know it's a very unique idea. And then someone pursues it. And I'm like, ah, se me fue el avión. I should have done it, So I'm kind of curious if you've experienced that. And then when you act on it, do you get like some sort of like, yeah, I was so meant to do this?
All the time. All the time. So like I remember so many months ago, I I think it was like 2018 maybe, or even before that, I released a CD. So I went to a studio and I recorded some of my poems and I put together a CD. And there was a poem in the CD that I literally went to bed and I had to get up from my sleep because I went to sleep dreaming about this poem and I got up in the middle of the night to type it. So I didn't forget it. And I typed the poem, and then of course it became one of those bilingual poems. So I have a Spanish version and I have an English version. And then I remember for an event, I wasn't sure which version I wanted to perform. And I said, you know what? The hell with it. So I took the first stanza of the English one, and then the second stanza of the Spanish, the third stanza of the English, and like that. And I pieced it like that. And I was like, people are going to be lost, but if you're bilingual, you're going to follow, exactly and it became one of those poems that I always perform at different events. And it's a love attraction poem, so people loved it and they responded to it, whether they understood it or not. It was more like the feeling and stuff. So it was one of those wonderful experiences. But yeah, I always say that poem woke me up from my sleep and like made me write it. And I it happens a lot, like you're always thinking. Now it's a little bit, I think the more that I've been writing, and because I write differently now, I write mainly for competition. So when you write for competition, it's a little bit different because you're always thinking about writing something great instead of just writing. So that's why it's so important, and we try to, and maybe it's because I don't have as much time to write, or let me rephrase that. I don't make a lot of time to write because, you always will find time for what is a priority to you. But again, because I'm mainly thinking that I need to write, and whatever I write has to be great instead of let me write this because it's in my heart, So, thank you, Enriquez. Enrique is saying celebrating all month. So, gracias.
Gracias.
So, so it's a little bit different, but yes, I, sometimes if I have an idea, something that's different, I'm like, I gotta write about this. And it happens. So, I think one of my some of my favorite pieces that I've written, like, for example, were about the Encanto movie. I have 2 Encanto poems, and I love them, and it was inspired by the movie, and seeing myself, like, how do I see myself reflected in that story, and how does that story compare to my life, or to me personally. So, just being able to write about that has been beautiful. But yeah, that's literally how ideas happen. You can be inspired by something somebody said, and then you just like, oh, I gotta write about that. And then you put it together, and like we keep saying, just standing in front of people and speaking your truth. And it's like, this is totally about me. And then somebody else comes and be like, this happened to me. And I'm like, what? How? This is my story, but it does happen a lot.
I was just thinking that it's probably not fair when Maddie gets into an argument with someone, because she has this extensive vocabulary. Pobrecito tu esposo.
I don't. I always tell everybody, don't make me mad, because you might end up in a poem. So I'm not Taylor Swift, and then.
So do you have a poem like that's low key about all the stuff your husband put you through?
Oh, he says all the time that he doesn't like going to my shows, because he's like, she'll do a poem to the a-hole that hurt me, and then he's like, I look around and I'll be like, yes, I'm the a-hole, That's what he says. Of course I don't do that, but that's what he thinks that I do, with poems. So he's like, I'm never going to your shows.
I'm sure you could do like a VIP poem just for him, on a day that he really gets you upset, and he's like VIP because it's just him. It's like a private event.
Listen, I tell him every time I write a poem, I just to get his reaction, because sometimes, like when you're creative, if you talk to somebody that doesn't particularly like what you do, but you can grab their attention, or they can tell you something good about what you wrote, you got something in your hands. So I always, every time I finish writing something, I'm like, you want to hear my new poem? And he's like, no. And I say it anyway. So, he's like, are you done? Like, most of the time it's like, are you done? And then, he will end up saying whatever, or don't say anything. But if I know he listens throughout the whole thing, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Because he didn't talk in between or turn on the TV in between my poem or whatever. That means he's listening. So that's a good thing. So
that's good. That's good that you have that type of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Maddie, for everything that you shared with us today. We enjoyed to listen to your heart and your advice about the shoes, even though you didn't get to tell us to see if you wear thongs still or not, or the wire in the bra or not.
Listen, maybe let me tell you, I will say it, I'll put it out there, because everybody that knows me, like all my, friends, and, because I always said it. The only reason I wear a bra is because, my girls are looking down. That's the only reason why I wear. But if I had like little boobs and they were perky, I would never wear a bra. The only reason why I wear underwear is the same thing. But every time I can get away without anything, believe me, I will. So that's just me. Like, underwear they will go broke. Victoria's Secret will be broke if I had a Barbie body, because I would never go in there for no reason.
I ditto that. I don't know if Nikki feels free enough to speak about that, but I ditto. I totally feel you on that. But thank you. It was amazing. Thank you for the laughs. I love to end and start my week with a laugh with you ladies. But we're ready for your poem.
I gotta do a poem now. First, I just want to say thank you. I was hesitant to come on the show today, and I was ready to spend the whole show crying, and I laughed a lot, and yes, I was in a dark space right before the show, and this, it's like milk does the body good. This show did my body good, so I appreciate you for that, both of you. I love you very much, and I am thankful to have you both in my life. So the 5th of this month is going to be 3 years that I lost my mom. And I just been thinking a lot about it. And I've done this poem before, but it's what I have in my heart. And I just want to honor her. And hopefully I can remember the poem and I can get to the poem. But I always knew she was my peace. She once told me that her heartbeat must have been the sweetest lullaby, because for the first 6 months inside her belly, my growing little body refused to move. Bell's palsy, how one side of her face deformed, the doctor's suggestion for her to abort, the alarms in her body went off, and her sweet lullaby turned into this heavy metal song, shocking me into motion. That immediately let me know that she would protect me at all costs, that no one could ever break our bond. I look in the mirror. And physically, I look nothing like her. But I saw everything I wanted to be like in her. I remember watching her get all dolled up. Like Cinderella getting ready for the ball, no glass slipper needed. She was already my queen. But I also remember when it was time for her to go dance it off, I would wrap my 4-year-old little body around her leg, and I would not let go. And that's because we were 2 peas in a pot. I swear. There was magic in her hands. She could make a full meal from a can, make anything frozen feel like fresh from the March. Julia Childs was no match for my mom. She could make something out of nothing with ease. That familiar magic radiating from her fingertips. She made a difference in all the lives she touched. She was amazing. She went across the ocean and made her foreign land her home, carrying 11 siblings, her mom and her dad. She gave everyone a fresh start. The ancestors' prayers is what must have kept her upright. Screwed by vibranium, her bones were fortified by the struggle and the hope that there must be something better out there for all of us. She showed me what a lady needs to be like, but also where to hide the knife, so when it is time to fight for your life, you are ready to leave your mark. And she did that. Diabetes, kidney failure, or broken back, like a Dominican ninja swinging the machete in her hands, she was resilience personified. She taught me what she thought I might need to make it through life, but she forgot the part on what to do after she died. March 5th, 2022. Our pod became too big for just me, too much room for chaos, drowning in this grief. She left me, and she was supposed to be my peace. But she left me with a million stories to tell, each one a lesson from beginning to end. She pulled me from my own personal hell, and she got me out of the hands of the devil himself. And today I am standing here because she loved me, and she prayed me to health. I look in the mirror, and I know I will never look anything like her, but the muscle memory in my heart will forever hum her heartbeat sweet lullaby as a reminder that we will always be one, that not even death could tear us apart, because I am her legacy, and she will forever be my peace.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you, Maddie.
You me sacaste las lágrimas. That was beautiful from the heart and the soul. Your mom sounded like an incredible woman, and I think it's so beautiful how you honor her with your presence, your words, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Maddie. I appreciate, I love your talent. I think you're an amazing woman, and the stuff that your mom passed down to you and the stuff that you're passing down to your daughter and your granddaughter, I think is just impeccable and amazing, even throughout the struggles. I remember, I know our time is up, but I remember one lady told me, Viviana, just because you're struggling right now, it's okay for your kids to see you struggle, because they're going to see you come out of it. And that was like a really strong life lesson for me, because I wanted my children to see me as this perfect being. But she was like, it's okay if you're not perfect, because they will see you go through and they will see you come out of it. And I think that that's the life lesson that we're constantly showing other people, as women. So I love your strength. I always see your tears as strength, as a matter of fact. So I think you're amazing. But I hope you ladies have an amazing week. And I think Nicte, you're next, maybe in a week or two. So we'll see if we can get Nicte to cry. And
Oh
then,
my gosh, yeah. I don't know.
but thank you. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and enjoy the first Sunday of March, and enjoy Women's Month for the rest of the month. Gracias por su atención y su tiempo. And I will see you guys next Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And thank you, Mark, our producer, as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, everyone. Gracias. Thank you, Mark. Viviana.
Whether you're a seasoned designer, dabbler, or just starting out, this course is for you.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ Academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me, because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be.
A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.